The victim of the shooting incident was a 41-year-old Milwaukee man. There was an adult female in the vehicle with him. She was unhurt. The investigation is ongoing. I wish we could give you more, but the vehicle description is a bit fluid. It was a traumatic situation. So between witnesses and the female who was in the vehicle, we're still trying to nail down that vehicle description.
Neighbors or witnesses say that it could have been road rage. The woman that was in the car with the victim claimed that that's the wife of the victim.
Sure.
Said that it was a road rage incident. Can you confirm or say anything about that?
I can confirm that. The motive, the circumstances leading up to the shooting are still being investigated. Again, very fluid at this point.
Do you think you say a 41-year-old Milwaukee man was shot and killed here? He was the driver, and I see
the vehicle came to rest here.
I see windows were shot out here. Can you tell me, the woman was screaming to some of the people we're talking to giving CPR that this was a road rage incident.
I can't comment on what she was screaming. Again, it was a traumatic situation. That may have been her assumption. It may ultimately be the case, but we're not sure yet. It's still under investigation.
Do you believe the driver was the intended target here?
Don't know that there was an intention.
Was the car shot at, just to confirm, shot at on the highway and it came to a stop here?
Correct.
Some of the neighbors around here said that they were talking to the woman that was trying to save the person and said there were cameras in the car that might give you some idea who it was. You know, are there cameras in the car? I'm
not aware of that. There may be, but again, I'm not certain of that. Again, fluid investigation. I don't mean to continuously repeat myself, but detectives are looking into every aspect of it, still examining evidence from the victim's vehicle and trying to work that out.
Have you caught the suspect yet?
Suspects are still being sought.
And there is a vehicle description. Did you want, we're live on TMJ4 News right now. Do you want people to know and to look out for it?
I understand. We'd love to put a vehicle description out there, but again, that description has actually changed a couple of times, so we're not 100% certain and don't want to put out a description that's not entirely accurate.
Can you tell us about emergency response time from ambulances? Because we spoke with a witness that said the ambulance took forever. Can you talk about that?
I can't address that. Again, not being facetious, the sheriff's office does not staff ambulances, so that may be a better question for the Milwaukee Fire Department or whatever the responding EMS agency was. What I can tell you is among the witnesses was at least one Good Samaritan who was a nurse who saw what happened, rushed over to the scene, performed life-saving measures, unfortunately unsuccessfully, but that occurred as well.
So how is the surviving passenger? Silver Spring, that's where the shooting happened. Can you describe how many shots were fired? If there were other people that may have been shot or witnesses, what did they say they saw?
There were multiple witnesses. Again, they're still being interviewed by detectives. Cannot say exactly how many shots were fired, Captain. I'm not sure if you know.
No, it's undetermined at this time how many shots were actually fired into the vehicle.
Okay.
Any idea what kind of weapon was used?
The vehicles were moving at the same time, and what?
This was a vehicle-to-vehicle incident.
Vehicle-to-vehicle incident. Do you have any idea? I mean, all the shots were on the driver's side, correct?
I can't confirm that.
Any idea what kind of gun was used?
Don't know, not yet.
How is the passenger doing?
She's traumatized.
So. That's the wife, right?
I'm not sure what her exact relationship was to the victim, but yeah, she's traumatized.
Are there any cameras on the freeway that might be able to assist in your investigation today?
The Department of Transportation operates freeway cameras, so they may know where the nearest camera was. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I'm certain that there are freeway cameras.
Are you going to try to put out information on a vehicle description when it's available to really just spread the word to the public so you can catch who did this?
When we nail down the vehicle description, we will definitely put that out there.
What's your message to people?
My message to people, resolve your differences without violent acts. I wish I could speak more bluntly, but I can't. People should resolve their differences without violent acts. There has got to be a better way to solve whatever problem you may have with someone else without pulling a weapon. Nothing's that serious that requires someone to be shot about it on the freeway.
How frustrating is this for you? I mean, people just driving to work and worried about getting shot to death on the Milwaukee freeways.
For me, as a resident of Milwaukee County, as a parent, a spouse, it's extremely frustrating. As someone who works at a law enforcement agency and functions in a public messaging and public relationship capacity, it's even more frustrating because I see the work that members of this agency put into, but we're not living in. Thank you. We're not living in a fiction setting. This is not a real life version of Minority Report. We cannot predict everything that's going to happen, and so on some level, we need members of the community to work amongst their peers, amongst people they have relationships with, and exercise common sense. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones there's a better way to resolve your problems that won't get you locked up for life.
Were they headed somewhere, this couple?
I don't know. Again, the surviving victim is still being interviewed by detectives.
Have you spoken with the family? When will the name be released?
I have not. I know detectives are working on making a notification of next of kin, and again, when they've done that and we're certain of it, names and other details will be released.
Can I get your first and last name, please? And
Sure,
your
James Burnett. Spokesperson for the Sheriff's Office, my position, Director of Public Affairs.
Thank you so much.
Do you have the exact time of when this happened? That we were just told a short while ago at about 10 a.m.
The call came in, I believe, at 9:02 a.m.,
9:02.
which would mean the incident took place probably just a few minutes before that.
So it seems like the victim was trying to get off the freeway when he was shot a while down.
I don't know if he was trying to get off the freeway or if he exited the freeway as a result of the shooting, but he's ended up in the location over my shoulder.
Do you think we'll have an arrest soon?
Again, wish I could predict that. Suspect still being sought. I know detectives are working on identifying a suspect, and again, when we nail down that vehicle description, that will go a long way to help with that effort.
Were they known to each other? Did they know each other, the suspect and the victim?
I'm not aware of a pre-existing relationship.
So it seems like it was random.
I can't say that either. Again, they're still looking into motive and trying to nail that down.
Okay.
Not being coy, again, I just don't.
Yeah.
It's all fluid at this
But
point.
it doesn't seem like they had a relationship with each other.
I don't know. Again, I don't want to speculate at this point.
Okay, when will there be another update?
Out here, there may not be another. I will put out a written update at some point later this afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Tom, I'm not sure if you're still listening.
We just heard from James Burnett with the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office there, giving us details on the deadly highway shooting, Highway 145 and 76th Street. Right now, you're taking a look at the minivan that investigators are focusing their attention on. Right now, we know a 41-year-old Milwaukee man was fatally shot. The passenger in that vehicle unharmed, but understandably so, traumatized this morning. We do know that the call came in at about 9:02 a.m. The investigation is ongoing, and from witnesses, we know that they believe that this was a possible road rage incident. Officials do say that right now they cannot confirm whether or not this is in fact a road rage incident. When it comes down to the vehicle who fired those shots, police do not say that they have a said description right now. They're going to wait until the investigation is a little bit more developed to give us more information, to give us more descriptors, and they are still looking for suspects at this time. Officials again cannot confirm that this is a road rage incident. More to come. We'll follow the story on air and online. For now, we'll be right back after this break.